Have you ever felt manipulated by someone, only to realize it much later? Or made a decision that felt right in the moment, but turned out to be a huge mistake? Here's a bold truth. Most of us are not in control of our own behavior. We think we are, but we're driven by emotions, unconscious biases, and deep-rooted instincts we barely understand. Now, imagine if you could pull back the curtain, not just on others, but on yourself. That's exactly what Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature sets out to do. This isn't just a book. It's a manual for decoding the psychological game we're all playing. If you want to become a master of influence, develop unshakable self-awareness, and read people like an open book, stick around. This might just change the way you see the world and yourself. Introduction. Robert Greene is known for going deep. In the 48 Laws of Power, he revealed the hidden mechanics of influence. In Mastery, he taught us how to develop world-class skill. In The Art of Seduction, he exposed the psychological chess game of desire. But in The Laws of Human Nature, Greene takes things even further. This book is about understanding the very engine that powers our thoughts, behaviors, and relationships. It's a psychological roadmap that uncovers what makes us tick, why we love, why we hate, why we envy, why we fear, and how all of this plays out in everyday life. Each chapter is framed as a law of human behavior. Think of it like a playbook, one that helps you see what's really happening in people's minds. Not just others, but your own. The ultimate goal? Freedom, self-mastery, and the power to navigate this world without being controlled by your instincts or anyone else's. So let's dive into the most powerful laws from the book, starting with the one that underpins everything. 1. The law of irrationality. Recognize and confront your emotional self. Let's get one thing straight. You are not as rational as you think. None of us are. According to Greene, most of our decisions are emotionally driven, based on fear, anger, love, envy, insecurity. Then, we use logic to justify those feelings after the fact. It's called emotional reasoning, and it's the silent saboteur behind countless poor decisions. Example, think about financial bubbles. People invest blindly, not because of logic, but because of herd mentality, a desire not to miss out. Emotions like greed and FOMO override critical thinking. And in your personal life, how often do you snap at someone when you're tired or stressed, then justify it with they deserved it? Here's the kicker. We often don't know we're being irrational. Our minds are wired to hide it from us. So what's the antidote? Greene urges us to become aware of our emotional triggers. Start noticing your feelings in real time before you act on them. Are you reacting out of fear, pride, insecurity? One powerful exercise. Reflect on a recent bad decision. Break it down. What emotion was really in charge? Was it fear of rejection, the need for validation, the desire to look smart? This self-inquiry is key. As Greene writes, rationality is the ability to counteract emotional effects, to think before reacting. The more you recognize irrationality in yourself, the less power it has over you. That's the first step to real freedom. 2. The law of narcissism. Transform self-love into empathy. Let's get real. Narcissism isn't just something other people have. We all have it. It's part of being human. Greene explains that narcissism exists on a spectrum. On one extreme, you've got pathological narcissists, people who are manipulative, self-absorbed, and emotionally unavailable. But on the other end, there's healthy narcissism, a strong sense of self-worth, balanced with the ability to care for others. Most of us fall somewhere in between. The danger comes when we're so consumed by our own needs, image, or insecurities that we can't see other people clearly. So how do you shift from unhealthy narcissism to something more powerful? Answer: empathy. But Greene makes a distinction here. This isn't be nice empathy. This is strategic empathy, the kind used by master communicators, negotiators, and leaders. It's the ability to step outside your own perspective and fully enter someone else's. Want to understand why your boss micromanages you? Step into his shoes. Maybe he's under pressure from his own superiors. Maybe he's terrified of failure. Want to know why your partner is distant lately? Look past your own frustration. What are they experiencing? Empathy gives you leverage. When you understand people's fears, needs, and desires, you can anticipate their actions and influence them more effectively. As Greene says, empathy is the most important skill you can develop. 3. The law of role-playing. See through people's masks. Here's a harsh truth. Most people are not who they appear to be. Everyone is playing a role at work, in relationships, on social media. They project what they want others to see while hiding what they don't want revealed. Insecurity, envy, fear, or hidden ambition. Greene argues that one of the greatest mistakes we make is taking people at face value. To see the truth, you must become a reader of behavior. Let's look at an example. Richard Nixon. Outwardly, Nixon portrayed himself as calm and presidential. But behind closed doors, he was paranoid, vengeful, and emotionally volatile. Those who observed his body language, his clenched jaw, his rigid posture, his fake smile, could sense the dissonance. This law teaches us to spot those cracks in a mask. Key signs to look for: incongruence between words and tone, excessive defensiveness, forced emotions, overcompensation. People can fake a lot of things, but their body language, micro-expressions, and subtle cues often betray them. Greene advises watching people when they're under stress. That's when masks tend to slip. Or observe how they treat those with no power. That reveals their true character. Once you learn to see through roles and performances, you stop being manipulated and start moving through the world with your eyes wide open. 4. The law of compulsive behavior. Determine the strength of character. Ever wonder why some people keep repeating the same toxic patterns? They date the same kind of person, pick the same kind of fight, sabotage their own success over and over. Greene explains this using the concept of character patterns. These are deeply rooted emotional scripts formed in childhood, reinforced over time, and repeated throughout life. Take Howard Hughes, the reclusive billionaire. Despite incredible success, his fear of germs and paranoia grew worse with age. His compulsive tendencies eventually isolated him from the world. Now, apply this law to your own life. What behaviors do you repeat? Do you procrastinate when things get tough? Lash out when you feel insecure? Shut down when someone gets too close? Here's the twist. You can also use this law to evaluate others. Want to know what someone's like? Don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do consistently, especially under pressure. That's where character reveals itself. Greene offers this mantra. Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. When you master this law, you stop being surprised by people, and you stop sabotaging yourself. 5. The law of covetousness. Become an elusive object of desire. People don't desire what's easy to get. They desire what's just out of reach. This law dives into the psychology of desire and how to become more magnetic by leveraging mystery, scarcity, and anticipation. Think of James Dean. His aloof, emotionally distant persona made people obsess over him. Or Marilyn Monroe, who used ambiguity and vulnerability to create a sense of allure. Greene's insight: desire is fueled by imagination. When people can't fully know or possess you, they project fantasies onto you. To use this law, avoid overexposure. Be strategic in what you reveal. Hold some thoughts back. Don't always be available. One of Greene's best lines: Too much familiarity breeds contempt. Whether in business, dating, or leadership, the key is to create aura. Let people work a little to earn your attention. Make your value apparent, but don't hand it over on a silver platter. This law isn't about manipulation. It's about maintaining your self-respect and mystique. 6. The law of short-sightedness. Elevate your perspective. Let's be honest. Most people think in the moment. What's happening now? What's urgent today? What's trending this week? It's human nature to focus on the short term. But Greene warns us, this kind of thinking is a trap. When you focus only on the present, you react emotionally. You chase quick wins. You panic when things go wrong. You miss the bigger picture. Take the dot-com bubble. Investors poured money into companies that had no business model because they were caught up in hype. Short-sightedness cost billions. Greene contrasts this with people who think long-term, strategic thinkers like Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln played a slow, steady game. He endured relentless criticism, bided his time, and made decisions that would shape not just his presidency, but the soul of the nation. He didn't react emotionally. He calculated, weighted, and struck with clarity. To develop long-term thinking, Greene suggests crafting a personal philosophy, a North Star that guides your decisions. Ask yourself, what are my values? Where do I want to be 5 years from now? What actions today align with that vision? And when emotions run high, pause. Step back. Zoom out. Perspective isn't just about seeing the future. It's about mastering the present by not being enslaved to it. 7. The law of defensive strategy. Know when to retreat. Let's flip the script on what power looks like. We're often taught that strength means pushing forward, never backing down. But Greene offers a radical reframe. Sometimes the most powerful move is to retreat. This isn't weakness, it's strategy. Great generals, legendary entrepreneurs, and even social icons have known when to pull back. Not to surrender, but to observe, plan, and come back stronger. One striking example Greene uses is the German general Erwin Rommel. When he was outnumbered in North Africa, he didn't charge forward. He retreated strategically, regrouped, and used the terrain to his advantage. He became known as the Desert Fox. In everyday life, this law applies just as powerfully. In an argument with your partner, don't escalate. Step back. Let the emotional storm pass. Return with clarity. Stuck in a business decision that feels rushed? Pause. Analyze. Don't let urgency make decisions for you. Retreat isn't quitting. It's buying time. It's protecting your energy. It's preparing for a more effective strike. Master this, and you'll never be cornered again. 8. The law of self-sabotage. Change your circumstances by changing your attitude. One of the most gut-punching truths Greene delivers is this. Many of us unconsciously sabotage our own success. We get close to what we want, and then we blow it. Why? Because deep down, we don't believe we deserve it. Or we're terrified of what success might bring. Or we carry emotional wounds that shape our behavior without our consent. Think of someone who always lands great job interviews, but never gets the offer. Or someone who keeps dating emotionally unavailable partners. Patterns like these don't happen by accident. They stem from inner beliefs, usually formed early in life. Greene calls on us to examine these beliefs ruthlessly, to recognize our own emotional wounds and how they color our decisions. But he also gives hope. Once you recognize these patterns, you can rewrite them. Start by identifying self-sabotaging thoughts. I'll probably fail anyway. People like me don't succeed. This is too good to be true. Challenge them. Replace them with empowering beliefs. Align your actions with your desired future, not your wounded past. Changing your life isn't just about changing your circumstances. It starts by changing your attitude. 9. The law of repression. confront your dark side. Most of us like to think of ourselves as good people. We bury our envy, our anger, our desire for revenge. We repress them. But here's what Greene teaches us. Repression doesn't erase these feelings. It just buries them deeper until they show up in twisted ways. Think of the boss who micromanages everyone, not because he's detail-oriented, but because he's deeply insecure and needs control. Or the nice guy who erupts in rage after being rejected. These outbursts are the shadow self breaking through. Inspired by Carl Jung's concept of the shadow, Greene explains that every person has a dark side, a collection of impulses we've learned to hide because they're deemed unacceptable. But ignoring your shadow doesn't make you noble. It makes you vulnerable. The solution? Face it. Own it. Integrate it. This doesn't mean acting on every dark impulse. It means acknowledging it, understanding where it comes from, and using it consciously. Your aggression can fuel ambition. Your envy can drive self-improvement. Your anger can protect your boundaries. Integrating your dark side is what makes you whole and dangerous in the best possible way. 10. The law of envy. Beware the fragile ego. This law is one of the most quietly dangerous forces in human behavior. Envy. Greene explains that people rarely admit to being envious. It's too uncomfortable, too shameful. But it's everywhere, especially in modern life, where social media constantly reminds us of what we don't have. Envy festers silently. It turns into passive-aggressive comments, sabotage, or even betrayal. One chilling example Greene uses is the story of Joseph Stalin and Sergei Kirov. Kirov was a rising star in the Communist Party, charismatic, admired, and loved by the people. Stalin, driven by envy and fear of being outshone, had Kirov assassinated. That's the power of envy. So how do you spot it in others? Greene advises watching for subtle signs. Backhanded compliments. Unexpected hostility. People who seem to downplay your success. And what about in yourself? Notice when someone's success makes you feel small. That's a signal. Use it as fuel to grow, not attack. Instead of being consumed by envy, Greene encourages transforming it into admiration. Ask, what can I learn from this person? Envy is normal, but left unchecked, it's a silent poison. Mastering this law will keep your relationships cleaner and your mind freer. 11. The law of grandiose self. Control the inflated ego. Let's talk about one of the sneakiest traps of success, grandiosity. When you achieve something, a promotion, recognition, a creative breakthrough, it feels good. You feel powerful, capable, almost untouchable. And that's when the ego starts whispering, you're special. You're different. The rules don't apply to you. That's grandiosity, the inflated sense of self that often comes right after a big win. And if you're not careful, it leads to reckless decisions, blind spots, and eventually collapse. Robert Greene shares the story of Michael Eisner, former CEO of Disney. After a string of successes, Eisner became convinced that he was the genius behind everything. He started alienating collaborators, micromanaging, and making bizarre creative decisions. Eventually, he was forced out. The lesson? Confidence is good, but unchecked ego is dangerous. To combat grandiosity, stay grounded in reality. Keep people around you who challenge your thinking. Remember that success is often a combination of effort, timing, and help from others. Greene suggests that the antidote to grandiosity is humility, not fake modesty, but a grounded awareness that you're always a work in progress. Your power lies not in thinking you're the smartest person in the room, but in being the most aware. 12. The law of gender rigidity. Reconnect with the masculine and feminine within. This is one of the more nuanced and psychologically rich laws. Greene argues that every human being contains both masculine and feminine energies, not in terms of gender, but in terms of archetypal behavior. Masculine energy is often assertive, analytical, and direct. Feminine energy is intuitive, creative, and fluid. But here's the problem. Society pushes us to conform to rigid gender roles. Men are told to suppress their emotions. Women are told to downplay their assertiveness. The result? Imbalance, stunted growth, and internal conflict. Greene points to creative geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci and Frida Kahlo, both of whom embraced a blend of these energies. Da Vinci combined artistic intuition with scientific precision. Kahlo expressed deep emotional vulnerability through bold visual statements. The more integrated you are, the more powerful you become. Greene's advice? Stop repressing the side of you that society told you wasn't you. Men, cultivate empathy, intuition, and aesthetic appreciation. Women, develop strategic thinking, assertiveness, and bold expression. Wholeness is magnetic. Integration leads to mastery. 13. The law of aimlessness. Advance with a sense of purpose. Have you ever felt like you're working hard but going nowhere? That's the result of aimlessness, drifting through life without a clear, personal direction. Greene warns that in a world full of distractions, it's dangerously easy to be busy but aimless. You chase money, status, approval, but you don't know why. Purpose, on the other hand, gives your life structure. It directs your energy, sharpens your decisions, and protects you from being pulled off course. He uses the example of Cesar Rodriguez, a U.S. Air Force pilot. Rodriguez wasn't the flashiest. He wasn't the loudest. But he had a single driving aim: to master his craft. That focus led him to become one of the most successful fighter pilots in American history. Your purpose doesn't have to be huge or flashy. It just has to be yours. Greene suggests a deep reflection exercise. What fascinated you as a child? What causes stir emotion in you? What kind of legacy would make your life feel meaningful? Once you find that aim, even if it's just the seed of an idea, build your days around it. Let it guide your path. Because as Greene writes, people without a sense of purpose fall prey to the whims of others. 14. The law of conformity. Resist the pull of the group. Let's face it, humans are social creatures. We crave belonging, but that desire can come at a cost. When we conform to the group, we often suppress our individuality, dull our judgment, and make decisions that go against our values. Robert Greene tells the story of the Salem witch trials, an extreme example of groupthink. Ordinary people became swept up in hysteria, accusing friends and neighbors of witchcraft, and many were executed. Why? Because no one wanted to go against the crowd. This dynamic shows up today, too, on social media, in politics, at work. People adopt the dominant opinion, not because it's right, but because it's safe. Greene's warning is clear. Beware of emotional contagion. Don't let the tribe think for you. One practical tip: carve out time for solitude. True independent thinking happens when you're not constantly being bombarded by noise and opinions. You don't have to be a rebel without a cause. Just make sure your beliefs are yours, not borrowed from the mob. 15. The law of fickleness. Accept the inevitable betrayal. This law might sound cynical, but it's grounded in truth. People's loyalty is often conditional. We want to believe that once someone is on our side, they'll always be there. But Greene shows that loyalty often fades when your value decreases, when you lose status, power, or influence. He points to the case of Julius Caesar. He was loved by Rome until his growing power triggered envy and fear. Many who once praised him turned on him, including Brutus, his close friend. This law isn't about becoming paranoid. It's about being realistic. Greene urges us to always assess the motives of those around us. Why do they support you? Is it because of who you are or what you can offer? And most importantly, never become too dependent on the loyalty of others. Focus on making yourself indispensable, keeping your skills sharp, and building inner strength. When betrayal happens, and it will, you'll be ready. 16. The law of aggression. Know how to channel anger strategically. Let's talk about anger. Most people either suppress it or explode in unhealthy ways. Greene offers a third option, strategic aggression. He makes it clear aggression isn't always bad. In fact, when channeled wisely, it's a source of drive, courage, and protection. Take Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't scream or threaten, but his calm, unyielding defiance was aggressive in its own way. It challenged power structures with focused, moral force. Greene encourages us to use our anger, not be used by it. Step 1. Understand your anger. What's behind it? A boundary violation? A sense of injustice? A fear? Step 2. Redirect it toward purposeful action. Let it fuel your discipline, your voice, your resilience. Controlled aggression is one of the most powerful tools you can develop. It demands respect, and it creates change. 17. The law of generational myopia. See the historical patterns. Most people live trapped in the moment. They think their time is unique, their problems unprecedented. But Greene reveals something deeper. Human nature plays out in cycles. Generations go through similar stages: idealism, rebellion, conformity, decline. The details change, but the patterns repeat. He illustrates this through the French Revolution, World War I, and the modern political era. The same collective emotional dynamics, hope, fear, tribalism, resurface again and again. This law challenges you to zoom out. Don't just understand your time. Understand the timeless human behavior beneath it. Why does this matter? Because if you see the patterns, you can anticipate what's coming. You can position yourself strategically, not emotionally. Read history. Study generations. Recognize that we're all playing roles in a larger drama, and the wise know how to step behind the curtain. 18. The law of death denial. Embrace the sublime. We've come to the final law, and it's the most profound. Greene confronts the one truth we all avoid: we're going to die. But rather than seeing this as grim, Greene reframes it as liberating. The awareness of death can wake you up, make you bolder, force you to live with urgency and depth. He writes about the Stoics, who meditated on mortality daily, not to scare themselves, but to clarify what matters. And he shares the story of Leo Tolstoy, who, after a crisis of meaning, shifted his focus from ego to service, from fame to soul. This inner transformation led him to create some of the most meaningful literature in history. When you face your mortality, your priorities change. You stop chasing empty success. You value connection. You pursue purpose over popularity. Greene calls this the sublime, a state of mind where fear dissolves and you touch the deeper current of life. This final law is an invitation. Stop waiting. Live fully. Speak truth. Leave a mark. Conclusion. The Laws of Human Nature is more than a book. It's a mirror. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't sugarcoat things, but it gives you something far more valuable: the truth. You've learned how to master your emotions, read through the masks people wear, identify compulsive patterns, use empathy and perspective as power tools, defend your mind from envy, conformity, and manipulation, embrace your shadow and your mortality. And here's the thing: understanding these laws isn't about becoming cold or manipulative. It's about waking up, becoming fully human, conscious, free. If this summary resonated with you, imagine what the full book can do. Greene packs every chapter with stories, strategies, and historical insights that go far deeper than we could cover here. So do yourself a favor, get the book. Reread this summary. Reflect. Take notes. Apply the insights. And if you want more life-changing summaries like this, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Like this video. Comment below with your favorite law or a moment where one of these patterns showed up in your life. Share this with a friend who wants to understand people better. Thank you for watching. And remember, your greatest power comes from understanding yourself and mastering human nature.